Hey, how the hell is it going? Welcome back to the studio. It is Rich, and today I'm going to be doing some dynamic anatomy, courtesy of Dynamite, drawing with Jesse. You requested specifically arm anatomy, and you wanted me to hit every angle of the arm, and I hit most angles. I'm going to take the arm, I'm going to rotate, I'm going to teach you everything, break this thing down, and if you don't know, I draw comic book, anime, manga. In the process of making all that art, hit subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, and like this video if you learned something. So I have a whole lesson plan for today. Right now I'm breaking down the proportions of the arm. You know, if there's where the shoulder is, the elbow, and the wrist, and I'm going to show you where it lines up on the body. And of course this is the first thing you need to know about arms, is the proportions and how it breaks down. But I'm also going to teach you muscle structure and then the dynamic anatomy and how that all works. So here you have the arm next to the torso, and this is what it's actually going to look like, you know, fully drawn out next to a body. So let's get to the muscle structure. Proportions were pretty basic, the size relations and everything, but the muscle structure is the different muscle groups, how they relate to each other, and how they interact and connect. So I start off with the shoulder, and then I go down to the bicep and the tricep, which you have there, and then of course I go out to the pecs, because the pecs are basically shoulder expanded out. It's very interesting to see like a surgical anatomical picture of the muscles. But so I have that shoulder muscle group. The bicep is blue, the tricep is red, and you're seeing a whole lot of it. And actually what separates in between them is another muscle that goes down from the upper arm all the way down through the lower arm. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but it goes right through the forearm, and it's a pretty big muscle lengthwise and everything. And up there where I have it shaded black is essentially no muscle. That's tendons and bone, and where the elbow is. And then in the purple is the other side of the forearm. There's muscles that essentially just wrap around the arm. It's very interesting, and they all kind of come down and meet at the wrist bone. They tie in there with different tendons and stuff. So it's all kind of strange to learn at first and think about how all this kind of forms together and wraps and meets at certain points. But yeah, it's a little less like building blocks and more like a rope. How a rope has all these different strands that are wrapping around each other and meet and pull tight. So this is the arm from the side view, and I'm blocking in the shoulder. And the shoulder has several different muscles, kind of a part of the shoulder is essentially three. But here I have the tricep in orange, and the tricep is split into two different triceps. There's an orange one and a pink one that's further back. That would essentially be on the inside of the arm, between the back and, you know, whatever that other tricep part is. And then the biceps in blue, and, you know, obviously that giant forearm muscle is green. And then that kind of like green yellowish squiggle that I just did is like a bunch of random muscle, a bunch of random little muscles that just stretch down. Ultimately, not super important, and I've seen a bunch of artists just kind of make them up and stack up a bunch of random muscles on top of each other. You can kind of go wild at that point. I tend to not do anything. And now from the back of the arm, if you're looking at a person from the back, I'm going to show you the two different tricep muscles that I'm talking about, and split in between them is essentially the elbow, and this giant blank space kind of going down to the elbow. It's essentially bone. It's that hard spot back behind your arm. I'm kind of detailing the figure there, blocking that out. And this arm's pretty thick, but you'll see what I'm doing here. So the tricep is split in two. You have the orange and the pink part. Again, I'm kind of shading out the blank areas where there's no muscle with just a blank black. And the same muscles, I'm trying to keep the same colors, green and then purple for the other side. Now I'm detailing the shoulder. Like I said, it's kind of split into three parts. It's not too hard to explain, but I'm not going to get into that now. So dynamic anatomy, we're going to start bending the arm. I don't cover every angle like Jesse wanted me to, but I cover quite a few angles. Just kind of basic bend at
the elbow. You want to learn squash and stretch, which it's animation terms for movement, and learning some stuff from animation has taught me quite a bit about anatomy and got me moving down that road of exploration. You kind of want to look at real life to learn this stuff too. Muscles tend to bulge up when they're being bent and then flatten out as they're being stretched. So these are all things to think about when you're posing your figures. The arm is just going straight down, it's going to look flatter and less muscular, and then when you start bending and flexing the muscles, they tend to bulge out more. So that's all stuff to think about. The forearm is very fun to draw for me, and triceps too, especially when you're looking at an arm from the back. That's super fun. Here I am kind of exaggerating the anatomy to make this, relatively athletic arm that's not super muscular look even stronger and more powerful. So now I'm going to draw an arm as if it's reaching out to grab something. When you're doing these kinds of poses, it always helps to have the gesture pose kind of down first, so you know where things are starting and where they're ending. But here I'm just trying to teach anatomy, so I'm kind of going straight into it, just thinking about the muscles and where they bend and stuff. Because it's an anatomy lesson, I'm not worried too much about, is this person not in shape? I'm trying to draw like heroic kind of proportions and stuff. So I'm thinking about where the muscles fold and where they connect with other muscles, what goes in between what muscles. And so the bicep kind of goes in between the two forearm muscles and it locks in there. So that's what I'm thinking about. And then I'm thinking about the hand, and hands are really fun to draw if you get good at them, because then it's like, wow, I've unlocked something. So recently I kind of unlocked something about hands in my brain that makes them just super fun for me to draw personally. And I'm going to draw this arm, and I kind of wanted to bend it in as many spots as possible, so I got it bent at the shoulder, bent it at the elbow, and I got it bent at the wrist. And even more so, you could twist the arm. You can rotate the arm just from the elbow down. So I probably should have done that to torque it even more and rotate it so the palm is going out, but whatever. So because you got that arm bent and you got the bicep bulging out, and then so I'm just thinking about points where the arm intersects and what the muscles are doing. When they get to the wrist, it all kind of tightens in and gets very skinny. You're going to see the undulations of the wrist bone and how the muscles all kind of intersect and tie in with tendons there. And that's all going to make your characters more believable by just inserting little hints of underlying anatomy. Whether or not you're a super detailed artist, your characters might be more cartoonish or anime, and you aren't drawing super powerful characters. Maybe it's a slice of life or something, but so your characters then wouldn't be super muscular, unless that was some specific quirk to your characters. But you wouldn't see a whole lot of muscles, but you will see wrists. Those are landmarks that everybody has: the wrist bones, the pelvic bones, the collars. So those are all things to think about. Certain parts of the anatomy everybody has, and you will see. And there I'm trying to fix the hand. I don't know why I spent so much time on the hand. It wasn't really part of the lesson, but it was bothering me. So let's skip ahead. So now I'm thinking about highlights. I'm going to shade this arm a little bit just to give you guys some idea of volume and how this figure kind of works in a three-dimensional space. Add some shadow into the biceps, and the light's hitting the top of this arm, and it's probably coming from like the top right area. So just trying to convey some three-dimensionality depending on your style. how you shade is going to be different. But some people do softer shading, some people don't shade. They're going to be doing hatching, and I would probably normally be doing hatching, but I got these cool, pencil brushes in Clip Studio, so I like messing around with them. And now I'm going to do one last final pose, just this muscle man flexing his arm. So he's kind of rotating his wrist in, and he's trying to pump up all the muscles. And you really pump up your forearm muscles when you rotate your hand in and really pull your arm tight. So one thing you want to do is practice flexing your own muscles to see what muscles are being triggered and how that affects the shape and silhouette of your arm and all that stuff. This dude is jacked, and that's the fun stuff to draw, Hercules, Hulk-like characters. So yeah, the bicep can look kind of blocky or like a brick. That cut between the bicep and the tricep can actually be like very, very straight. And just look at some pictures and some reference of bodybuilders like Arnold Schwarzenegger back in his day. Like, it was ridiculously cut. So I got some serious cuts in there, and then I got some softer areas where muscles just kind of blend together. You want to find the balance between drawing a muscular character and just drawing anatomy. And that can be a fine line, because your characters can look ridiculously detailed beyond like to an absurd point. So look at some realistically strong people and see what muscles are being emphasized, because you aren't going to draw all those tiny little sinews and all the tiny little muscles in the forearm unless just find your balance. So thank you for being here, guys. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, like if you learned something, and comment down below what you guys want to see next. I will take these suggestions, put them in my poll for the next video, and you guys can vote on them. So thank you. See you guys.